In this hands-on lab, we're going to explore some of the basic features of S3. We'll create an S3 bucket, we'll upload 2 objects into that bucket, set policies on each object, validate the access policies to those objects, and then experiment with the RRS, or Reduced Redundancy Storage type, and SSE, or Server-Side Encryption. Nothing's required to do this lab, although we do suggest looking at the Introduction to S3 deck, as well as the advanced features of S3 presentation. If you've not yet, go ahead and log into the AWS console and click on S3 under Storage and Content Delivery. If this is your first time getting into S3, you won't see any buckets at all. Here you can see that I've created a bucket called Infinite Skills for the course. Let's actually go ahead and create a bucket, which is going to be a storage container for our objects. Again, bucket names are globally unique, so let's choose one that's probably not taken yet. I'm going to type my first name hyphen infinite skills, all one word, and leave it in the US standard region. When you're provisioning your buckets, you might want to consider where your assets lie and keep the bucket in the same region as your EC2 servers if you plan on sending assets back and forth between them. If you remember from the S3 presentations, data transfer inside of the region is free. We're going to go ahead and create the bucket. And here we go, the bucket's been provisioned for me. Now let's upload some assets into this bucket. Let's click on our bucket, which enables the upload. Let's go ahead and click Upload and add some files. Pick any 2 files on your desktop, preferably ones that are semi-small, and choose Open. You can see here that I could either start the upload directly, or I could push details. I always go through and do this when I'm uploading from the browser, setting the details. Here you can either decide to use RRS, which is 4 nines versus the standard 11 at about a 20% discount, or use SSE or server-side encryption. We'll leave both of those unchecked. The next thing I usually do when I'm uploading files is because I want somebody to see them. I will usually click Make Everything Public here, but we won't do that. Let's go ahead and leave it as the default. You could also set metadata on these files. We can see here that figuring out the content type automatically happens on your behalf. Let's go ahead and push Start Upload. You can see that my files uploaded pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and click on one of them, and then click on Properties. Here you can see that my file has been given a URL. Now this does not necessarily mean that everybody will be able to see this, but let's just verify that. Let's copy the link address, open another tab in our browser, and then paste the link address back in. You can see that I do not have access to this through the web because it doesn't know that I'm logged in or not. Let's instead change one of the files' permissions to allow access to everyone. This is typically what you're going to want to do when you're sharing files. Here we're using the ACLs, or the Access Control List, and we're going to grant everyone the ability to open or download, but they don't need to see the permissions, so we'll leave those unchecked. Let's push Save, and see if we can access the object now, which we can. We can also set secure side encryption on a file. Let's take the other file that we just uploaded, and instead of accessing permissions, let's access the details. Here you can see that I can change the storage class to reduced redundancy and even set server-side encryption. Let's go ahead and do that in both of those instances. We can see that some keys were generated for me, and this file is now encrypted. When I go to access this file, if I have permissions to get it, Amazon will use the encryption keys that it just created for only that file and decrypt the file. Again, this adds a whole lot of security and lets S3 be compliant with applications that need encryption for data at rest. If you don't plan on doing anything else in S3, let's always do the last thing that we do in every lab and do cleanup. Here we can select Actions and Delete and clear these items out. Now notice this bucket is empty. Only an empty bucket can be deleted. If I go back to my bucket and I try to delete it here before it was empty, I would get an error. And let's actually do that with this other bucket that I created. I'm going to right-click on it and delete it. And I get this error. My other bucket that I just deleted, however, can be deleted because it has no content inside of it. S3 comes with a very generous free tier, which allows for 5 gigabytes of storage and 15 gigabytes of data transfer every month for 1 year. Again, please verify that this is accurate as of your viewing of this deck. Feel free to poke around inside of S3. Here's some things to try. Try bucket logging. Try lifecycle events for both Glacier and RRS. Try RRS simple notifications. Try to set Glacier uploads. The one thing about Glacier, it is actually a separate service, and let's look at that for a second. If we go back to our web GUI and we click on the little orange cube, we see that Glacier here, although it's actually stored inside of S3, is a separate service entirely. If you want to upload things to Glacier, you actually have to go through Glacier. You may also want to experiment with website hosting, and a very advanced case would be direct from browser S3 uploads.